Glad you could join us for 7:30 News Bulletin. My name is Fales Chizombe. First, the headlines. King Charles III, Queen Camilla joined Pope Leo XIV in Sistine Chapel for midday prayer, marking a historic moment in Anglican-Catholic relations. Stakeholders urge Malawi to strengthen the implementation of Africa human rights decisions. Stakeholders urged to collaborate in fighting drug and substance abuse among students. In other news, Russian drone strike hits kindergarten, killing one and injuring several others. We have more stories coming up. Stay with us. After a meeting in the Apostolic Palace area in the morning, Pope Leo XIV, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla of England gathered together for an ecumenical prayer service in the Sistine Chapel. They were joined by the Most Reverend Stephen Cottrell, the 98th Archbishop of York and the Primate of England, the second most senior bishop in the Church of England. We have more details in this Vatican News report read by Tandiwe Zumara.
This visit marked a historic moment in Anglican-Catholic relations, one that has not occurred in 500 years. Two themes marked the journey: Christian unity and care for the environment. Originally scheduled for April, the visit was cancelled due to Pope Francis' ill health. One of its goals was to highlight the shared commitment of King Charles and the Argentine Pope to the care of creation 10 years after the publication of the encyclical Laudato Si. Moreover, the ecumenical prayer service held in Latin and English built upon the good relations between the Vatican and the United Kingdom. It also fulfilled a wish of King Charles, who, as Supreme Governor of the Church of England, has long been committed to interfaith engagement. From the opening hymn of the prayer service, the theme of Christian unity and ecumenism was evident. King Charles had attended the canonization ceremony of the English theologian in 2019. St. John Henry Newman is set to be declared a doctor of the Church on the 1st of November by Pope Leo. Continuing this atmosphere of communion, the chapel was filled with the voices of the lay clerks of St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle and the children of the Chapel Royal of St. James Palace, both invited by King Charles and Queen Camilla, together with the Sistine Chapel Choir. The three groups chanted and sang the hymn and psalms of midday prayer. As the organ signaled the end of the prayer service, Pope Leo exited the Sistine Chapel side by side with King Charles.
The General Secretary of the Malawi Council of Churches, Reverend Alemegezeke, has encouraged the country's youth to embrace rather than avoid reproductive health services as an important step toward securing their future. Reverend Piri made the remarks during the second day of a 3-day Youth and Religious Leaders Direct Conference organized by Zatonse Project at Itoperoji in Mponera, Dowa District. Patrick Pupa has filed this report.
As part of efforts to promote sexual and reproductive health, organizations implementing the Zatonse Project are in collaboration with the Ministry of Health hosting a 3-day Youth and Religious Leaders Direct Conference in Mponera, Dowa District. The initiative focuses on sexual health awareness, disease prevention, and the promotion of positive reproductive health practices. Rev. Alemegezeke is the General Secretary for Malawi Council of Churches.
This is a very important event, and for us as the religious leaders from Malawi Council of Churches and other mother bodies, we are very eager to have this interaction with the youth, especially concerning their future in sexual health and sexual reproductive health rights, it is very important for the future of the country. The youth are the ones who are going to implement the 2063 vision for Malawi.
The conference is being held under the theme Creating a Favorable SRHR Environment for Youth, a Win for All, and has brought together 30 young representatives, each from Mzimba, Nchisi, Ncheu, Blantyre, Tioro, and Rompe. Representing the youth, Sylvester Luembe was excited seeing Nzadose Project hosting the event, as this will promote sexual reproductive health among the youth.
It is very important to us as a youth to having a dialogue with some faith leaders, just because when we have some church leaders or church elders in our community, we having a true faith about the spiritual life, even the physical life, especially the teenage. We have a more importance about the some point that can get or gain from them.
Other participants include leaders from various faith-based organizations such as the Malawi Council of Churches, Muslim Association of Malawi, Anglican Council, Blantyre Synod, Livingstonia Synod, and the Baptist Convention of Malawi. The Nzadose project is funded by the government of Germany through KfW, and the conference is led by the Blantyre Synod Health and Development Commission under the ACT Alliance, coordinated by Norwegian Church Aid, NCA, and DCA. For LUNTHA News, this is Patrick Pupa.
The government of Malawi is set to spend approximately 130 billion kwacha to buy 200,000 metric tons of maize from Zambia. This follows the signing of a major food security agreement between Malawi's Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Loza Fachimbilizi, and Zambia's Minister of Agriculture, Ruben Ntolopiri, in Lilongwe on Wednesday. Under the deal, Zambia has pledged to supply 200,000 metric tons of maize to assist Malawi in addressing the ongoing hunger crisis affecting the country. Richard Manoka has filed this report.
The agreement comes in response to a report revealing that more than 4 million Malawians are at risk of food insecurity between October 2025 and March 2026. During the signing ceremony of the maize procurement deal between Malawi and Zambia, Zambia's Minister of Agriculture, Ruben Ntolopiri, assured that his government is ready to deliver the maize to Malawi once payment is completed. Piri explained that the maize will be sourced from Chipata and nearby areas within a 100-kilometer radius to facilitate smooth and efficient transportation into Malawi.
Our position was clear. Let's not complicate issues. What we need is maize. Let's not complicate contracts. This is a government-to-government arrangement. And a government-to-government arrangement will not have these normal business complications. So having gone through the preliminaries, we therefore agreed that we can supply 200,000 metric tons to Malawi. And we made it so friendly that we say we will give the maize within Chipata and 100 kilometers outside Chipata. The main purpose of that was to reduce the transport cost for the Republic of Malawi onto this maize. Because you can buy maize at a very fair price, but if you are not careful, the transport cost uplifts the price to unaffordable levels. And you heard the minister in a statement. She was very particular and very clear that yes, we have maize, but it should be affordable maize.
Malawi's Agriculture Minister, Loza Fachimbilizi, confirmed that the government is moving swiftly to ensure the maize arrives within a month and reaches communities.
The contract is for 200,000 metric tons of maize, which will be bought from Zambia through Chipata and a 100-kilometer radius. It will not take us long because the directive from the President, Professor Adam is that this maize should come in as soon as possible. And you know we are almost in the rainy season, so distribution of that maize might be difficult if it comes late. So within the month, we should have the maize coming.
The Malawian government will also make extra maize supplies available through ADMAC to guarantee easier access for the public. Meanwhile, the Zambian government has announced that it harvested more than 1 million tons of maize, with approximately 700,000 tons earmarked for export. Bridget Mwanoka, for LUNTHA News.
Stakeholders from government, civil society and academia convened in Lilongwe to assess Malawi's progress in implementing decisions from African human rights bodies, with experts commending the country's political will while urging stronger action on outstanding cases and broader stakeholder involvement. Speaking with Professor Nkanta Mlungi, Assistant Director at the Center for Human Rights, University of Pretoria, she said the consultation aimed to review Malawi's progress in implementing African human rights decisions. She commended Malawi's political will and openness to engagement, but noted that some cases remain only partially implemented. The stakeholder roundtable was held at Sunbelt Capital Hotel in Lilongwe under the theme of Matai Stakeholder Roundtable with Government. Gift Kalonga has filed this report.
Speaking with Professor Nkanta Mlungi, Assistant Director at Center for Human Rights, University of Pretoria, she said the meeting aimed to assess how Malawi is responding to decisions from the African human rights system. She said Malawi has shown strong political will and is among the few Southern African countries that allow citizens to file cases at the African Court. She added that some decisions remain only partly implemented.
The purpose of this meeting is for us to reflect on how the state of Malawi, specifically the Republic of Malawi, is implementing the decisions of international human rights mechanisms with a specific focus on the African human rights system. So we are looking at how the Republic of Malawi has responded to the decisions of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, as well as the African Court on Human and People's Rights.
Davis Njovu, president of the Malawi Law Society, said Malawi has made progress, but more needs to be done. He added that respecting court rulings is vital for Malawi as a law-abiding country.
There's been some decisions which have been implemented, and then there are others which are yet to be implemented, and that is why we have this round table today to look into ways as to how maybe we can try to facilitate maybe more speedy implementation and respect for these very important court decisions which touch on the important subject of human rights.
Mwandida Teu, head of programs at Youth and Society, said the meeting also helped the civil society groups understand how regional human rights bodies make decisions. She called for greater involvement from civil society to support the government in implementing these decisions and improving human rights in Malawi.
For instance, that they should be taken through the decisions and recommendations that were made by regional human rights bodies, and they should be able to make an effort in terms of the implementation of the decisions and recommendations. So basically we convened this meeting because we have an understanding that in terms of the implementation of the decisions and recommendations, it cannot be done by government alone, but let alone also stakeholders being involved, including civil society organizations.
The discussion highlighted that Malawi has made notable progress in promoting access to justice. However, participants noted that the country still faces challenges, especially in ensuring that people living in rural areas can access legal services and protections. For LUNTHA News, this is Gift Kalonga.
You are still watching LUNTHA News with me, Fales Chizombe. We'll be back shortly.
Olivia school fees kwa kupiga tobano. Listen the fees by Airdo Money. Muta Olivia school fees mosa vuda kutera bafoni yanu. Tadilani ndondomeko zo tadirazi. Joyamba, imbani *211#. Pamenyo ya mamuda batidwe, sankani 8 kuti mulibire fees. Bitirizani bosanka 1 yomwe ndisente fees. kenako mudzafunsidwa kuti mulowetse admissions number. Kuchoka apo mudzaona skulu yomwe mukufuna kulipira komanso dzina la ophunzira. Onetsetsani kuti zonse ndizolondola. Pitirirani ndi kuyika ndalama zomwe mukufuna kulipira. Lembani pini yanu ya Airtel Money kuti muvomereze kulipira. Ndipo nthawi yomweyo mudzalandira SMS yotsimikiza kuti zatheka.
Ife Maranatha Natural Healing Ministries tikuthandiza mavuto osiyanasiyana.
Munthu ine ndakhala kudwala nthenda ya mgonamgona. Kupita ku chipatala anazota kulu BP yanu yakwera kwambiri. Ndinafika posiya kuona kumakhala nyumba ineyo satuluka. Koma ndilakwitsa ntchito mahebo a Maranatha ululu natha ndikuona patali olomota ndipatsa singano kuti ndike ulusi ndiyikambota ineyo.
Maumboni ochuluka akuperekedwa tsiku ndi tsiku.
Ndi atanthi yesa bwinobwino ku chipatala ndimene amene kuti tikuona kuti munthu sotupa ziwiri sakula kwambiri komanso mtima wanu ukuoneka kudontha madzi ndachita ndithu kuchokera ku Maranatha.
Chinthu chinali chotupa kuti ndimange tayi ndi makanika tayi makhala pamba pachotupacho olo kuti ndimange mabatani zimaoneka kuti mkati mukhaka ndayikamo kanthu kena kake umboni ndina kuti ndachita kuchokera ku Maranatha.
Ine matenda adandiphata ine adali yasima esesani musachedwe pitani ku Maranatha.
Maumboni ochuluka akuperekedwa tsiku ndi tsiku.
Ukapita ku Maranatha kwagula mankhwala mukupanga za moyo wa inu mukupanga za moyo wakaza komanso mukupanga moyo wa ana.
Maumboni ochuluka akuperekedwa tsiku ndi tsiku.
Mahebo akupezeka mashopu onse a Maranatha muno Malawi. Phone 0888-381-131 kapena 0996-867-190. Maranatha Natural Healing Ministries, mabanja athanzi, dziko la thanzi.
Wakusina kutu ndi nasi.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching LUNTHA News coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center in Area 2, Lilongwe. Before we proceed, another look at the headlines. King Charles III, Queen Camilla joined Pope Leo XIV in Sistine Chapel for midday prayer, marking a historic moment in Anglican-Catholic relations. Stakeholders urged Malawi to strengthen implementation of Africa human rights decisions. Stakeholders urged to collaborate in fighting drug and substance abuse among students. In other news, Russian drone strike hits kindergarten, killing one and injuring several others. Moving forward, the Chief Executive Officer of Drug Fight Malawi, Nelson Zakeyu, has called for collective efforts among stakeholders, emphasizing that prioritizing the rights and lives of children remains the only effective way to combat drug and substance abuse among children and students in the country. Speaking in an interview with LUNTHA Television, Zakeyu stressed the importance of collaboration in implementing existing policies designed to curb drug and substance abuse among students. We have more details in this report, followed by Charity Chilanga.
Zakeyu noted that although the country has introduced better strategies to address drug and substance abuse, the major challenge lies in their implementation and enforcement. He further pointed out that the growing trend of alcohol and drug abuse among school-going children continues to undermine the education system and youth development. Recently, President Arthur Peter Mutharika also condemned the use of alcohol and other drugs among the youth, saying such habits bring disruptions in schools and threaten the country's future workforce.
It has to be understood that consumption of alcohol, use of drugs of any kind, these are developmental issues. They are affecting the development of the country in one way or another. You may agree with me. Those that are addicted to alcohol or any other drugs, they may not perform effectively in their offices.
Commenting further, Zageyu urged law enforcement agencies to act decisively by arresting all perpetrators involved in supplying or administering drugs to students, warning that failure to do so could worsen the situation. Meanwhile, child rights activist Amos Jubana underscored the need for psychosocial education on the effects of drug and substance abuse, saying that putting in place strict laws to regulate companies and agencies distributing drugs to students is critical in addressing the vice.
This tendency and this behavior among among the children and the youths, especially those that are in primary schools and those that are in secondary schools. There is too much drug substance abuse among them. So there are a lot of interventions that must be taken, including the continuation of the psychosocial support that is being provided across. But then we have to deliberately establish or revamp the youth clubs that were there in both primary and secondary schools.
Echoing similar sentiments, child rights expert Memoli Chisenga emphasized that prioritizing the rights and welfare of children could help align government and stakeholders' policies toward effective implementation.
Generally, the issue of drug and substance abuse among young people is quite high, and we really need to do something about it because we have a lot of young people, especially students, indulging in drug and substance abuse. So we really need a proactive approach in terms of addressing the issue. Let's not just focus on maybe enrolling the topic in the syllabus and talking to the students, but let's invest more in having more transformational programs that we can enroll, maybe rescue these young people that are into drug and substance abuse.
There is an increase in cases of drug and alcohol abuse among students across several districts in the country, raising serious health and social concerns.
Climate change has forced many smallholder farmers to seek alternative ways to sustain their food systems. As a result, an increasing number of farmers have turned to irrigation farming, which demands a significant amount of their time. However, with persistent sanitation challenges in many rural areas of Malawi, these farmers often face difficulties that may hinder their efforts to boost food production. To address this challenge, the trustees of Agricultural Promotion Program have integrated a water and sanitation component into their Transform project, with support from NCA-DCA. We have a report forwarded by Sam Kalimba.
Transform project has brought enthusiasm among many smallholder farmers to engage in diversified agriculture, in which they are doing both rain-fed and drip irrigation agriculture, animal husbandry and afforestation. This being the case, the trustees of Agricultural Promotion Program (TAP) included a component of sanitation in their project design to boost the health of the farmers and create more space and time for the farmers to concentrate on farming. Anita Mahata Mangochi is the program officer for TAP, who explains why the intervention was used.
Sanitation was incorporated into the program as a cross-cutting issue. This is because you cannot talk about issues of agricultural production and food security without talking about sanitation. Good health starts with good sanitation, which are issues of hygiene and access to safe water. Farmers cannot perform all these agricultural interventions the project is promoting if their health is compromised.
Nyozeni Baloni is a mason trained by the trustees of Agricultural Promotion Program, who has since assisted 45 families to erect modern toilets without the use of tree products as petratrine lining materials, but bricks instead, with hand-washing facilities since 2022 in 5 villages in Traditional Authority Zole in Dowa District. The toilets, locally known as Mwamuna Abumule, which simply means that men will have more time for other activities and not rehabilitating the toilets regularly, according to Balon, are lined with bricks instead of the traditional logs of wood, and they are always covered when not in use. He said that he gets 5,000 kwacha only for one pit latrine lining and 8,000 kwacha if combined with erecting the walls. From this, Baloni has bought local pigs that he relies on for his meals and for sale.
Kumbali ya ukondo zimbudzi zizi zawathandizira kwambiri wanthu chifukwa mu nthawi imene tinkagwiritsa ntchito zakale zamani ndi kuti kunali kuti anthu amavutika kuti akhale ndi ntchito ya ukondo yotetezeka andinso tu panopa ndi kuti anthu akutaphunzitsa kwambiri kumakhala ndi mpondagiya.
Farmers trained by the Transform project largely deal with selling of food supplies to their communities, and therefore sanitation at both home and farms will go a long way in assuring the potential customer of hygiene levels of their products. Transform project on sustainable food systems and rural agriculture transformation has come to an end, but its effects are yet to be felt in the long term. I am Sam Kalimba reporting for LUNTHA Television.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Climate Change has revealed that several natural and human-related factors continue to affect the country's tree survival rate, which has stagnated at 70% over the past 5 years. According to the ministry's spokesperson, Tikondane Vega, erratic rainfall patterns, poor management practices, and monitoring gaps have remained the main challenges hindering the success of tree planting efforts across Malawi. Vega emphasized the need for citizens to play an active role in reversing the trend. Emmanuel Chocha reports.
In a written response to LUNTHA Television, Vega disclosed that although the 5 years combined tree survival rate remains low, Malawi made significant progress in the 2024-2025 tree planting season by planting 51 million seedlings, surpassing the initial target of 40 million. He further stated that preparations for the upcoming 2025-2026 tree planting season are well underway, with the ministry encouraging the public to prioritize planting early maturing and climate-resilient tree species that can withstand erratic weather conditions such as drought and inadequate rainfall. Vega also noted that poor livestock management during the dry and winter season have contributed to seedlings destruction, urging farmers and community members to take care to protect newly planted trees. Meanwhile, environmental expert Godfrey Mfidi has called on authorities to strengthen collaboration with the local communities during tree planting initiatives to promote long-term sustainability.
The main issue here we have is lack of ownership and custody. We need custodians. Our local leaders are custodians of the natural resources on behalf of the government and the citizens. Remember, we as a community, as a citizen, we exist and we do have a local leadership that is there to guide. Now, whenever the Department of Forest Affairs or government is initiating such activities like tree planting annually, there is a greater need for involvement of such communities and leaders.
According to Mfidi, the main factor affecting the survival rate of trees is lack of ownership, stressing that empowering communities to take responsibility for the trees can improve care, monitoring, and overall survival. For LUNTHA News, this is Emmanuel Juocha.
And in other news, dozens of children were safely evacuated after a Russian drone struck a kindergarten in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, early Thursday morning. The attack killed at least one person and wounded several others, according to local authorities. We have an Al Jazeera News report read by Tandiwe Zumara.
Emergency services rushed to the scene as smoke billowed from the damaged building, which was reduced to a charred shell of its former structure. Kharkiv Regional Governor Ole Sinehubov said the drone slammed into the kindergarten compound during the night, sparking a fire that spread to nearby residential buildings. Footage shared by Ukrainian officials showed shattered classrooms, burned toys, and broken windows scattered across the playground. Parents, many in tears, gathered outside the site as firefighters continued to extinguish flames and clear debris. The kindergarten had been operating as both a school and a temporary shelter for displaced families since the early months of the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the strike, calling it another act of terror against children and future. In his nightly address, he vowed that those responsible would be held accountable and reiterated his call for stronger air defense systems from Western allies. Russian officials have not commented on the attack. Moscow has repeatedly denied targeting civilian infrastructure, despite mounting evidence from international investigators showing widespread strikes on schools, hospitals, and residential areas across Ukraine. The latest assault comes amid renewed Russian offensives in northeastern Ukraine, with Kharkiv remaining a frequent target of drone and missile attacks. Local officials have warned that the continued bombardments are making it increasingly difficult to restore basic services and reopen schools before winter sets in.
That news item brings us to the end of our today's news bulletin. Another look at the headlines before we go. King Charles III, Queen Camilla joined Pope Leo XIV in Sistine Chapel for midday prayer, marking a historic moment in Anglican-Catholic relations. Stakeholders urged Malawi to strengthen the implementation of Africa human rights decisions. Stakeholders urged to collaborate in fighting drug and substance abuse among students. In other news, Russian drone strike hits kindergarten, killing one and injuring several others. I've been Fales Chizombe. Thank you so much for keeping me company and continue enjoying the list of our programs here on LUNTHA Television. Stay safe and goodbye.